On December the 28th, 1980, Lady Plowden, the outgoing chairman of the Independent Broadcasting Authority, announced a major change of direction for television in the south of England. An 8-year license to broadcast was granted to TVS, a new company to replace Southern Television, who'd been responsible for commercial television in the south of England since 1957. So here we are, a brand new company, and we had just 1 year and 3 days to recruit staff, to buy and build studios and equipment ready to start broadcasting today.
On the morning of New Year's Day 1982, Television South introduced itself simultaneously from Southampton and temporary premises in Dover to viewers in 10 counties of the south and southeast. This enlarged ITV region stretched from Dorchester in the west to Dover and Southend in the east, from the Isle of Wight up to Reading in the Thames Valley, an area containing more than 5 million people. TVS came into being charged with providing a complete regional television service for those people. For the sports fans and the gardening buffs, for the arts enthusiasts, for those requiring the help of others in our community. And for those who wished to be kept abreast of news and current affairs in the region, a special service was introduced. 2 completely separate editions of Coast to Coast, transmitted simultaneously from Southampton and Maidstone each weekday evening. The Southampton edition for Brighton and all points west of that town, the other for the remainder of East Sussex, Kent and South East Essex. The programmes have separate presenters and reporters, separate production teams, even separate weathermen, but they share a common interest in reflecting the main events of the day in their sub-regions.
Queen Elizabeth II came here on the 31st of October 1984 to open the new law courts. The crowds turned out and waited hours in the mist and the drizzle, but still they loved it. The Mayor of Maidstone, Michael Nightingale, presented a commemorative scroll to the Queen and introduced her to civic dignitaries.
The delicacy of the Endurance saga and her captain's statements meant that the press were out in force this morning. It's taken the Endurance about a month to come back, and during that time the men on board have been practically oblivious to the welcome other ships received, and so they didn't know what to expect.
If anyone deserves a quiet life for sheer determination, it's Andre Johnson. Since he set up home in Cobham Woods 11 years ago, Rochester City Council have made repeated attempts to evict him. Andre, like others, bought his acre plots legitimately from a leisure company who owned the land. But a local bylaw forbids building on the plots. The council say that if they made an exception for Andre, others would want to follow suit and move on to their plots. Andre's already burnt down one hut he lived in to satisfy a previous court order, but the council have served another order through the High Court. Andre was given 3 weeks to find a legal loophole to enable him to stay. If not, he'll have to go.
There are separate editions also for the south and southeast of the Sunday political programme Agenda, and for the community unit's Action Line. None of these programmes is seen outside the TVS region. Only when that regional service, currently running at about 9 hours of television a week, is complete, can Television South concentrate on making programmes for the entire ITV network and Channel 4. Almost since day one, however, TVS has maintained a steady outflow of programmes like the much-praised Spice of Life, to be enjoyed by the whole of the United Kingdom. One of the company's very first documentaries, Test Tube Explosion, won a silver medal at the prestigious Prix Italia in Venice.
Edwards and Steptoe report 74 established pregnancies in their first year.
I think at the beginning of the year we were saying, well, let's hope we achieve 50 pregnancies in the first year. But I must say now I wish it was 100.
3 years after Test Tube Explosion, another investigative documentary, Unit 731, about Japanese war criminals who got away with their crimes scot-free, created headlines right across the world. In it, Peter Williams confronted a scientist guilty of experiments on helpless prisoners of war with details of his crime.
But to experiment on, let alone to kill, even one prisoner of war is against the Geneva Convention, never mind medical ethics.
They were soldiers, prisoners of war, and I think the Japanese army was wrong.
What about your part in the work of Unit 731? Do you have any conscience about that?
I feel very guilty about what I've done, and I think I did wrong.
The pace and the standard is maintained. Television South has supplied 10 documentaries to the ITV network and Channel 4 so far this year.
When the breakthrough to the east had been made, the courier in the east would keep a watch on it for 24 hours to make sure it wasn't discovered. Then he and other members of the organisation would round up the waiting escapers and take them to an assembly point. They were told to wear their best clothes to fool the police. It was a subterfuge. Nobody would wear their best clothes to go crawling underground. And then they came through.
That for me was the best moment. When the people came crawling out of the tunnel from East Berlin on their knees like mice. And the marks on the floor of the tunnel like ripples in the sand. It was their knee prints. That for me was a beautiful sight. It doesn't matter what becomes of me. I will never forget that sight. That was happiness.
And I was on my own at the far post, and I was running in on this ball that was going to drop perfect for me, but it was coming out of the air there, and it was in one of those. And I remember thinking to myself, oh, shit. No, I really did think it's coming to me, you know, and you've got a little... And suddenly the girls look that big. And I was only about 5 yards out, but you're thinking... And then all of a sudden, Martin Peters popped up in front of me and knocked in the back of the net. And I went, great, terrific, you know.
High in the mountain forests of eastern France, an SAS soldier returns to remember a murder and to recall the part he played in an SAS unit which defied government orders and mounted its own personal hunt for Nazi war criminals.
He said to this Gestapo man, I'm onto a frightfully good thing on the black market. If you meet me under the clock in Cologne on such and such a day at midnight, or, I'll cut you in on it and we can share the proceeds together. And this fella fell for it. And the SAS team were waiting in the shadows and they got the prisoner.
In April 1936, Billy Butlin opened his first ever holiday camp at Skegness, an idea that would become an institution that would become a legend.
Here's your tea, Miss Sales. Oh, thank you. Gosh, isn't this exciting? I do envy you your job.
Serving tea?
But at 20,000 feet.
Yes, I must admit, I do love it.
And I suppose for holidays you can stop off anywhere you like in the world.
Well, I could, but I don't. I always go to Butlin's.
Lots of people can hypnotize chickens by, if you take a chicken and hold its head down to the floor and then draw a line like that, the chicken will stare at it.
Hang on, is that a hypnotized chicken?
Slightly, yes, yes.
So we went along the bow, up over the forecastle and landed on the bridge, or where the bridge used to be. And there's the wheel is sitting there. It's amazing. And then we went along the side and back over to the entrance to the staircase. I mean, it's you could drive a truck down the staircase.
The TVS contribution to television drama began with the prize-winning Squaring the Circle, about the rise and fall of solidarity in Poland. Bernard Hill was a powerful Lech Wałęsa.
We have to act as one.
You mean, if we want to strike in Warsaw, we have to come to Gdansk for permission?
Yes, definitely.
What are we going to be? An alternative bureaucracy? A Politburo?
How we use our authority is up to us. If we are fair, then we will use it fairly. For the good of all.
Yeah, that's party language, Lech.
No, it's the language of democracy. Stolen by the party.
Then came the courtroom and bedroom intrigues of the brief, before the arrival on the scene with tyres squealing and guns blazing of the glamorous Cat's Eyes crime busters.
What happened? A flying accident?
No, shooting accident. Wendy was with him. It seemed a present was involved. Now, how could that come about in a legit place like this?
A side deal. Under the table, so to speak. Something like that.
Equally as action-packed, the wartime drama 92 Grosvenor Street, shot partially in Norway.
What if I were to tell you that there's a mole in your organization?
A fairly well-placed partisan who's relaying your most sensitive plans to the Nazis.
As a member of the Resistance, I would demand that you tell me who it is.
I wouldn't be able to because I don't know. But Henri Grisard did.
Daniel Travanti took time off from Hill Street Blues to play revered American broadcaster and political battler Ed Murrow in a much-praised TVS dramatisation of the man's career, including his airwaves confrontation with the infamous witch hunter of communist sympathisers, Senator McCarthy.
The actions of the junior senator from Wisconsin have caused alarm and dismay amongst our allies abroad and given considerable comfort to our enemies. And whose fault is that? Not really his. He didn't create the situation of fear, he merely exploited it, and rather successfully. Cassius was right. The fault, dear Brutus, is not in our stars, but in ourselves.
More international artists crossed the Atlantic to star in the TVS miniseries Strong Medicine.
You've become something of a legend, young lady.
Thank you for sharing this miracle with me.
My patient is not a guinea pig.
Your patient is dying.
Dame Peggy Ashcroft and Ian Holm provided the confrontation of the year, Hercule Poirot versus Agatha Christie in Murder by the Book.
So I'm to help the great Hercule Poirot solve a real live murder?
Yes, a real live one.
Oh, come on, let's get on with it. Tell me, who is the intended victim?
The intended victim, my dear Agatha, is myself.
Drama for younger viewers has featured prominently in the TVS output since the very early days. Serials such as The Haunting of Cassie Palmer, The Boy Who Won the Pools, The Witches and the Grinnygog, Travellers by Night, and the story of a wheelchair-bound detective named Letty have all won big audiences. A children's drama with the engaging title of A Young Person's Guide to Getting Their Ball Back won the coveted Pi Television Award. TVS is, in fact, the leading contributor of children's programmes to the ITV network, and each Saturday morning the Maidstone studio reverberates to the antics of the unpredictable team to be found at number 73.
Bring arts to Maidstone. You see, my live entertainments project was so successful, I've been put in charge of the entertainment and music. In you go, and you're all going to be gnomes.
Great.
Okay? Santa's helpers. Fantastic. You'd like to put your hats on?
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We were going to be in the cellar.
Ah, today it's grotto.
It's not that bad, is it?
Get in.
1986 will go down as the year in which TVS got into its stride as a provider of top-class entertainment programmes for the nationwide audiences.
I never thought it would work. I mean, the first man to have a sheep's heart transplant. Are there any side effects?
Here's your next catchphrase. Take a look at it. John.
Burying the hatchet.
Burying the hatchet's right.
8 million albums in the last 6 months, and we're working at TVS. Yeah, I know, but who is this Bobby Davro? No, I don't think that the fact that you posted the head of entertainment's got anything to do with it. No, don't cry, Simon. Simon, don't cry. But we've got a gig to do. Goodbye.
Out a mile, then baby, here I am. Whoa, whoa,
Love is what this show is all about. Love is understanding. Understanding when your wife uses your snooker cue to unblock the sink.
Giorgio, there's a very famous girl dressed in tinfoil back there in the studio in Southampton.
Hello,
a famous
Giorgio.
English love goddess.
Would you like to give her a few honeyed words in Italian?
Ah, buongiorno. Come sta?
Oh, I'm very
Sta
well.
bene? Volevo
you?
salutare tutti, voi, questi italiani che mi hanno supportato, e salutare mamma, papà e mio fratello.
Thank you.
From Bournemouth, it's Summertime Special. And here is your host, Max Bygrave.
I'm thrilled. You know, my son John Ross came home from school the other day. He said, Mama, I want a wee-wee. I said, John Ross, you can't say that. You gotta say, I want to whisper. JR come home a bit later. He said, Daddy, I want to whisper. He said, well, whisper in my ear.
And the future holds more of the best. Roy Walker will be back with another series of Catchphrase. Bobby Davro has some more wicked impersonations in the pipeline for TVS at Christmas. And in 1987, viewers will be able to catch the mood of a 21st century Britain devastated and divided by civil war and in the firm grip of the Knights of God.
And we, the Knights of God, will rule you with strength, with wisdom, and with justice. This I swear to you. Go in peace.
The last 4 years have seen Television South growing as a dedicated regional service and a force to be reckoned with nationwide. Here's to the future.
And now, on to meet with destiny.